Greetings and God bless. I was just rereading John Berger's Way of Seeing. I went to a very progressive liberal school and college, and this was one of the books we read in class. And so I'm just taking a look at chapter one, the end of chapter one, and it says it's talking about how art has been appropriated by the ruling class. And that originally the visual arts, whether it was a sculpture or church or temple or painting, like the visual arts always existed within a certain preserve. Originally, this preserve was magical, like literally, like a cave that traditional peoples went to do a ritual or something. So originally, this preserve of art, what we call art now, was magical or sacred, but it was also physical. It was the place, the cave, the building in which or for which the work was made. The experience of art, which at first was the experience of ritual, was set apart from the rest of life, precisely in order to be able to exercise power over it. I don't know if this is exactly why. Personally, I think sacred spaces were set apart from ordinary daily life of farming or gathering or whatever. I think it was set apart to give it more, actually give the sacredness of a ritual more power. But, anyways, the experience of art, which at first was the experience of ritual, was set apart from the rest of life precisely in order to be able to exercise power over it. Later, the preserve of art became a social one and entered the culture of the ruling class, whilst physically it was set apart and isolated in their palaces and houses. During all this history, the authority of art was inseparable from the particular authority of the preserve. What the modern means of reproduction have done is to destroy the authority of art and to remove it, or rather to remove its images which they reproduce, from any preserve. For the first time ever, images of art have become ephemeral, ubiquitous, insubstantial, available, valueless, free. So just imagine, we see Mona Lisas or, sculptures, famous Rodin or whatever. We see stuff everywhere. They surround us, this art surrounds us in the same way as a language surrounds us. They have entered the mainstream of life over which they have no longer in themselves have power. Yet very few people are aware of what has happened because the means of reproduction are usually nearly all the time to promote the illusion that nothing has changed, except that the masses, thanks to reproductions, can now begin to appreciate art as the cultured minority once did. Understandably, the masses remain uninterested and skeptical. I don't know if that's the case. This is just what this author is saying. If the new language of images were used differently, it would, through its use, confer a new kind of power. Within it, we would begin to define our experiences more precisely in areas where words are inaccurate. Seeing comes before words, not only personal experience, but also the essential historical experience of our relation to the past. That is to say, the experience of seeking to give meaning to our lives, or of trying to understand the history of which we can become the active agents. The art of the past no longer exists as it once did, and partly because it's so ubiquitous. It's just around. It's used in, a commercial or whatever. Its authority, the art of the past's authority, is lost. In its place, there is a language of images. What matters now is who uses that language for what purpose. This touches upon questions of copyright for reproduction, the ownership of art presses and publishers, the total policy of public art galleries and museums. As usually presented, these are narrow professional matters. One of the aims of this essay has been to show what is really at stake is much larger. A people or a class which is cut off from its own past is far less free to choose and to act as a people or class than one who has been able to situate itself in history. That is why, and this is the only reason why, the entire art of the past has now become a political issue. I think this is a really interesting point because art, whatever that may be, whether we're thinking about it as sculpture or even literature, when it's censored, eliminated, canceled, we're canceling what we know about ourselves as a culture or as people, as a human being. So I just thought this was an interesting excerpt from this book. So thanks for listening, and share what your thoughts are. God bless.